Okay, hello everyone and welcome back. Hope you're looking forward to a new academic year. I've got something quite exciting. This is a bit different to my normal videos to share with you because this year we have been invited to be involved in a project which I think is going to be really quite exciting. Now, you know I'm a big fan of conservation and rewilding, restoring wildlife and so on and so forth. But this, I think, is a little bit bigger than most average schools would get involved with. So we have been offered the use of a piece of land near the school, and this is it. Let me show you what we've got. So that is 23 acres of arable land, okay, that's previously been farmed for crops, and the farmer doesn't want to do that anymore. As you can see, it's also verged by some lovely woodlands over here. Right. And a letter came to us to say, what do you want to do with it? Okay. Now, since then, we've managed to get the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust involved. We've managed to get Severn Trent in turn and the Environment Agency to come down for a meeting, and I've just come from that meeting. The suggestions run from reinstating an airstrip on this land, which the landowner is very keen on. He was a keen aviator a number of years ago, to turning this whole area I'm standing in now into a wetland, right? And wildflower meadows, even beekeeping has been suggested. So let me show you around and I'll show you what we've got. So while just having a big bit of farmland that you can see in the back there is really exciting as a rewilding project, what makes this site especially exciting is its proximity to, and I'm sure you can hear it in the background, this. So that is the River Arrow. As you can see, it is in lovely condition down there. We've got a lovely gravel bed there, little gravel beaches, and there's evidence that we've got everything from trout to mink to otters down here, although we're still looking for the first evidence of those. So, of course, that makes this site a mixed area of river, of woodland, of arable land, and useful for a huge array of different possible projects. So this is probably my favourite bit of this land, the bit right down on the beach by the river. As you can see, this river is in lovely condition. We've got fast flowing bits, we've got slow flowing bits, we've got all sorts of different habitats. And if you look at that bank behind me there, as you can see, all the overhangs, all the little nooks and crannies make a perfect environment for nurseries for fish and for dens for things like otters. So when it comes to rewilding an area of farmland like this one of the major problems that you've got is the amount of fertilizers and extra off-farm inputs that were put into the environment. And a lot of things like wildflowers simply can't cope with that level of nutrition. They need really poor soil, otherwise they will just get overtaken. And we can see that's kind of the case here, because it doesn't take a botanist to work out what all that is. We've got nettles. Now, nettles indicate very high phosphate levels, and very high phosphate levels suggest fertilizer. And actually a bit of soil sampling that we've done already down here suggests that is the case. So one of the big challenges we've got is going to be to try and lower that nutrient level to get back to something more like a wild state. One of the first things to do when you've got a project like this is to work out what you've actually got here. And one of our first steps, as you can see, has been to put up a number of these camera traps, which are going to tell us exactly what lives here. As you can see, this one here is shooting down towards the river there, and we already know we've got various types of deer. We've got muntjac on the cameras already. Okay, so I'm wondering what we'll find when we get the data off this little fella. So this one here is looking straight down the river there to look for some otters, which we think we might have in the area. And here's our third and final camera trap, which I'm sure is filming me right now as I talk to you, which is pointing straight out over the land. And you can really see the size of this place from this end. So there you have it, an exciting project. Turn this into something to really help local nature. Now I'm going to head home and find out what's on the camera traps that I've retrieved today. Hopefully there'll be something good, and I'm going to leave you with a load of those scenes and pictures of what we've found down here on the land. There'll be plenty more updates on this project as time goes on, and do feel free to ask any questions or come down and get involved. Just let me know if you're interested. Thanks very much. Right, so here's what I found. We'll start with a familiar friend, the grey squirrel here, which was regularly, come rain or shine, on multiple days up on this little perch in front of the third camera. But what I didn't realise was just how good they were at taking the crop. All right, look at this guy in the background here, this little fella. As you can see, he's pulling down the crop to get to the tasty bits of the wheat on top. And he goes through quite a few of them. Considering how big they are, this is quite an impressive feat of feeding the crafty little fellas. As I said, deer were a regular feature, with this male appearing on lots of the different cameras, grazing in different areas. A particular fan of this tree, and walking around in front of camera number 3. There he is, but obviously as good as the food is, I don't think it was only the grazing that was keeping him here. This female also appeared on the camera traps in exactly the same locations, exactly the same paths as the male. She grazed on the same sort of trees in the same areas, day and night. Now, they both seem to be a particular fan of this tree here, which might tell us something about the likelihood of trees we plant getting a little bit nibbled. However, if you've got lots of food, you've got a male and a female, it doesn't take a genius to work out what's going to happen next. So camera number 2 was actually bashed at one point, it seems, by maybe a fisherman or an animal or something, to end up pointing at the ground on the bank. However, this proved to be really, really lucky with this amazing footage of the local heron, and this has to be probably my favourite thing we found on the camera traps. But there's always one thug that wants to ruin it for the rest of us. This magpie landed on this perch an awful lot, and seemed to take exception to our camera traps. I don't quite know what they'd done, but he did everything he could to try and get the camera trap off the tree and to break through the outer casing. You've got to admire his dedication, but fortunately the trap is well attached to the tree and the casing is strong enough to resist even the most vicious of beaks. Eventually, luckily for us, he does get bored and fly away. Thanks very much. See you next time.